Hey folks, welcome to lick 1 for the 12 licks of Christmas 2014. What we're doing for this lick is predominantly using the kind of classic go-to approach of using a pentatonic minor over like an A7 or an A dominant chord. It's tried and tested, you hear it in blues, rock, fusion, everything. It's a sound we're all very, very familiar with. But let's actually look at what's going on with the chord and what we're playing over it when we look at the notes involved. Now a 7 chord, it's effectively a major chord, but you also have a minor 7 interval in it. So you've got a root note, then a major third, then a perfect fifth, and then you got a minor 7 or flat 7 interval added to it to make it just have that little bit of tension. So you basically have this tension between the third and that flat 7. It's actually a diminished fifth interval between the two of them. So that's why it's great for if you're just vamping on it like that, you've got this kind of bluesy, kind of funky vibe to it. Or you can use it to resolve to chords up a fourth and all that sort of stuff. But that's a formula for it. So so root, major third, perfect fifth, and a flat 7. Let's look at what the pentatonic minor scale gives us. So you're probably very familiar with it. Let's play a pentatonic minor there. And if I look at the intervals, you've got the root note. That's quite important, obviously. Then you get the minor third. It's a major third that's in a chord, but we play a minor third, which is quite an interesting kind of sound. Then we have the perfect fourth. Then we get the perfect fifth, which is a chord tone that's in the 7 chord, and then you get your flat 7, which is also in that A7 chord. So you can see you've got 5 notes and 3 of them are in the chord that you're playing over. Yeah. The minor third is the interesting one. Effectively, if I'm playing those two intervals together, it sounds really discordant when you play it like that. But we're so used to hearing that kind of bluesy kind of tinge to it. That's effectively what it gives us. And what you tend to do, and hear people do, is bend that minor third a little bit. Now what you can do is you can bend all the way up to the major thirds, but the really bluesy note kind of sits in between. And what I'm doing in this lick is kind of toying about with that. I'm taking that minor third and just bending up a little bit. So I've got that going on. And I'm also effectively adding a major third into the pentatonic minor sound as well. All that sort of stuff. As well as adding in, as I just did there, a diminished fifth interval too. So there's quite a few things going on here. So let's look at the lick in detail, and I'll talk about the little bits as they come in. So we start off with something that goes like this. Yeah. So I'm using a little bit of hybrid picking here, and I'm kind of making it a little bit percussive. So what I'm going to do is slide, I'm kind of thinking like a C form version of a pentatonic minor scale. And I'm going to slide up to the 12th fret of the D string here. And then what I'm going to do is pluck the B string with my middle finger, my right hand here. And then come back to playing the D string at the 12th fret. So you've kind of got this kind of bouncy feel where it goes D, B, D. Yeah. And then what I do is play a little bend at the 13th fret in the B string, but it's kind of a little quarter note bend. That's the kind of bluesy note right there. So it's not a full, half step bend. There's a little note in between. So that's the first little phrase. And I've got a little bit of paramute here on the D string actually. And I think I actually play that with my pinky, that 13th note, B string note there. Next little section sounds like this. So it's kind of nice, one of these wide interval things that I love. And what I'm doing is I'm continuing this kind of hybrid picking idea, and I'm going to pluck, so I've just done this. I'm now going to pluck the 10th fret of the B string with the first finger. I play the D string 12th fret again. Then I'm going to pluck the 10th fret B and slide back to 8, 10 to 8, like that. So that's your kind of 4 notes there. Yeah. Again, still got a slight paramute in that D string, I think, just to give it a bit more of a punchy kind of feel. Then I have this little shape here. So I'm thinking of an octave shape here. So what I'm going to do is put my 4th finger at the 10th fret of the high E string, and then I come down, that's plucked with my middle finger by the way, and then I'm going to pick 7 to 5 slide on the G string with the 1st finger, so that kind of goes like this. And that's my 3 notes, and my 4th note is 7th fret of the D string, which is your root note. Okay, so slowly that bit goes like this. And actually, plucking wise, I think I used a ring finger there rather than the middle finger, so it's like this. And that's just because the fingers are there ready to go. You may find it easier just using the middle finger again. Now the next bar kind of goes like this. That's the kind of first phrase in it. And this is now bringing in, you know, you can see I'm in my classic position 1 or E form of the A pentatonic minor scale here, that everyone's very, very familiar with. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this little run that goes like this. And what I'm doing here is bringing in this flat 5 interval. So people always talk about blue notes, and people talk about the blues scale where you play like a pentatonic minor, but you add in a flat 5. You know, to me, the scale's really the pentatonic minor, and you're adding in the flavour of the flat 5. So that's it there again. And what I'm going to do here is a little bit legato. 3rd to 4th finger, 7 to 8, back to 7, and then pull off like that. So it kind of goes hammer, pull off, yeah. And watch out that that's nice and even. You know, so nice even 16ths there. So it adds in that little bluesy flat 5 tinge. Then I go. Now what I'm doing here, I tend to use my 3rd and 2nd finger to play the 7th fret of the D, and then 7th fret of the A string there. So I go. A lot of people might actually prefer to bar with the 3rd finger. It's just that I tend to avoid barring with that 3rd finger. So that's what I do there. And then I've got this. And what I'm doing here is I'm ending on the 5th fret of the D string with the 1st finger. But that's the flat 7. And what I'm doing is I'm ever so slightly putting a bend in that as well. So I'm adding in another one of these kind of interesting little tweaks on a kind of chord tone. I'm bending up to the major 7. It's kind of a note in between, and it's more of like an articulation, just to slightly bend the note to make it sound a bit more bluesy, really, rather than just ending on it. That's fine. You hear the difference, it's just a subtle little articulation. So, and the next bit is weird to kind of take it out of context, but what I'm doing here is actually building up to this next part of the lick. So what I do is I've just ended up a bend in the minor 7 there. I'm going to slide 3rd finger 7 to 5, and then I'm going to take my 1st finger, play 3, then move up a fret, play 4, then move up a fret again, play 5, and then play 6, and then 7. So I'm going straight up the neck, 1 fret at a time, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But if you look at what's going on intervallically here, that's me ended on a minor 3rd there. I go up a fret to the major 3rds, then I've got the perfect 4th, then I've got the flat 5, and then I've got this 5th here. So what I'm doing is I'm playing notes of the pentatonic minor scale, the flat 3, the 4, the 5, but I'm sticking these little kind of passing tones or glue notes between them. And it gives you this really cool, almost the sort of thing you would hear in kind of jazzy or bebop sort of styles. Where you have this kind of momentum and continuity to it because you're filling in the gaps effectively. So that's what's going on here. And it's kind of weird to synchronize up your left hand and right hand when you're just like that. So you might want to take that in isolation just to get used to the kind of movement of the 1st finger moving up a fret and synchronizing when you're picking in your right hand. Next bar goes like this. So this is a little hybrid picking thing that's kind of built into my muscle memory, so that's what I'm doing there. I'm just kind of thinking, oh, I'll sequence up a pentatonic minor and I'll just use a little kind of hybrid picking thing that I've got into, you know, practice and built into my hands. So the sequence, maybe best to think of it in terms of 8 notes. Maybe thinking like a group of 3 and a group of 5, even though it's all even 16ths. And the first group of 3, what I'm going to do is play 5 in the G string, and I pluck that with the middle finger on my right hand again. Then I'm going to play 7-5 in the A string, but I do that upstroke and then downstroke. Yeah. So you have to watch your kind of hand positioning for your hybrid picking here, that your pick's not this side of the string, so you have to come round to do an upstroke. It's kind of past the string. So the motion's all kind of one, you know, pluck, then up, pluck, up. It's all kind of one small little movement. And you can practice that in isolation just to get that feeling a bit more comfortable, a bit more smooth. Next little bit, and then it's kind of 5 notes, and what I'm going to do is pluck again the G string, and I do a pull off 7 to 5. And I play an upstroke 7-fret D string. Like that. Then I do a downstroke and hammer 5 to 7 in the D string. So that kind of 5 notes goes like this. When you put it together, the first bit, that's what you get. Again, I'm using a little bit of slight pan mute on the bass strings just to make it sound a bit more punchy. Okay, next 8 notes really for the rest of the bar. It's the same thing up, so we were doing mostly the A string, G string, and then D string. Next one's going to be D string, B string, and then the G string. So it kind of goes like this. Same thing, but sequenced up now, so we're using the notes of this pentatonic minor here. And what I'm going to do is play 5th fret of the B string, plucked again with the middle finger. And I do upstroke, downstroke, 7-5 on the D string. Then I've got a pull off 8 to 5 on the B string with the middle finger. Upstroke, 7th G. And then downstroke, hammer 5 to 7. So it's exactly the same physical movement that you're doing with the right hand. It's just now you're on to the next 3 strings, the D, you know, G and B. So that second bit goes like this. That's a little bit more open because I'm not pan muting the strings as much. Okay, so that whole bar goes like this. Last bar goes. Okay, so this is quite cool because what I'm doing here, I start with the 5th fret on the B string, plucking with the middle finger. Then what I'm going to do is play 7-6-5 on the G string. Now, picking wise, personally, I do that with an upstroke, start with an upstroke, so I do up, down, up. You may want to do it with a downstroke, whatever, but as long as it kind of feels comfortable. And the interesting note here, obviously if you can see your pentatonic minor, it's a 6 on the G string. That's another major third. So this is me hooking into the A7 chord a bit tighter, because obviously it's got a major third in it. If I'm playing a minor third, I can bend it, make it sound bluesy, but if I do this, put in the major third, it ties a bit closer with what the chord is doing basically. Plus it adds a nice cool little chromatic kind of movement. Yeah. So effectively I'm coming down a pentatonic minor scale, but I'm adding in these major thirds. So I come down 7-6-5, 7-5 on the D string, and then 7-5 in the A string, but end on the major third. And that's such a great way of ending a lot of stuff, actually ending, if you're playing over a blues, the very last, you know. It's a great note to end on, so you're really hooking into the kind of bright sound, the major third sound that's in that kind of 7 chord. So the last bar, if I play it again, goes like this. Middle finger pluck, then 7-6-5, 7-5, 7-5, 4. You can put a bit of vibrato on that. Okay, so let me play through the whole thing nice and slow. This is where it goes like.